And I think I can't remember all of Ellen Willmott's story, but I know that, like Countess Tasker, she never married. She was a spinster all her life. She did have a lover who was a woman, who was a wealthy socialite, I think. But that particular, whether they had a deep friendship or they were lovers at the time, obviously it wasn't something that you couldn't have an openly lesbian relationship at that particular time of history. And I think Ellen Willmott was quite saddened because the love of her life, this woman, and I will put the woman's name, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but she was very well connected, very wealthy. And she ended up getting married, and I think that really, sent Ellen Willmott into a very traumatic time, and she was rejected, and I don't think, she just never got over that. And she was actually awarded a medal from the Royal Horticultural Society in London, and the other very famous Victorian female gardener at the time was Gertrude Jekyll. She was the only other woman to be awarded a medal by the Royal Horticultural Society, and apart from Ellen Willmott. But there was a huge dinner in London to award this medal, and at the same time, I think this was around the time that Ellen Willmott had split up with her aristocratic female lover. And she didn't attend the dinner, and this was like, this is like getting the biggest award for your efforts and your lifelong work and not bothering to turn up to be honoured for it, and nobody could understand why she didn't turn up. And I think she was thought of as being very eccentric, and therefore, and she was, when she used to go and visit other people's gardens, she used to take seeds which she would sow, and these seeds were a dangerous kind of plant, a little bit maybe like Japanese knotweed, or it wasn't that, but it was something similar, that when these seeds took root, they would practically ruin other people's gardens. So she was I think she was quite a malicious person. But they are stories which have remained, that were bandied around during her lifetime. She was I think she was quite a lonely figure. Maybe she just perhaps enjoyed the solitude of wandering around these gardens like I'm doing today. But she seems a very fascinating woman, whatever. So I hope you're going to enjoy looking around Ellen Willmott's gardens today and finding out a little bit more about her. So here you can see taking tea under the walnut tree, 1900. That would have been Warley Place House, and I think that's Ellen Willmott. And here's what Warley House looked like back in the day. So here we've got an interesting tree, native of California, the headache tree. I think this might be possibly it here. Not sure, but it says that if you crush a leaf and smell it, you may get a severe headache, hence the name. Well, we're not going to do that. And here you can see the gates, the entrance here, the old gates, and they are the remains of a wrought iron entrance leading to the Cardinal's Walk. As you can see, there would have been a sundial here in the middle of this circle. There would have been a sundial there in the middle. After the Willmotts purchased the house in 1875, it was extended to the north and the east and demolished in 1939. We are standing at the front door with the pillars to right and left. In front of you are the cellars, and the native perennial of old walls can be seen growing on the crumbled cellar walls. So here we've got the actual stone from the front of the house here. We've got a plan of the house here. And in the background you can see some of the ruins. And here's Here's another old picture of the house here, and you can see the ruins of the conservatory there. This, I don't know what it is, but it's almost like cotton. It's like cotton wool's got caught on flowers. So we've come down to the rose arbour, and you can see here the different types and species of roses which were grown here. It also says that some of these were discovered by E.H. Wilson on his third plant expedition to China, which Ellen Willmott partially sponsored. He's obviously a famous horticulturist, but let's have a look inside. These are the Spanish chestnuts, and there is something here to show you how they would have been. This was taken from the meadow and shows the house behind the gazebo, but no trace of the gazebo has been found. And this actually tells you a little bit about Henry VIII. When he dissolved the monasteries, he actually took this land from Barking Abbey and gave it to his naval minister William Gonson. In 1649, John Evelyn, the gardener and diarist, acquired the manor of Warley Magna, but never lived here. He sold the manor in 1655, but Evelyn is thought to have influenced the planting of the sweet chestnuts directly in front of us, although only one of the present trees is old enough to be of that period. And apparently woodpeckers, great spotted woodpeckers, have been seen on these, and in spring angel's tears, the Narcissus triandus, appear in the mossy area in front of us. Well, it says here on a clear day, slightly to my left, you can see London's landmarks, including the Dome of St Paul's, Cathedral, Canary Wharf, Millennium, O2 Dome, the Shard and part of the London Eye. Well, I can actually see where it is, and it is, if I can zoom in, see if I can point it out to you. I'm going to have to zoom in so close. You can just about make that out through the bushes. That is actually London. That is about 35 miles away in the distance there. It's not a very clear day, but you can actually spot St Paul's Cathedral and London right in the distance from this spot. How amazing. This area with all the big stones, and if I pan up here, you can see there's quite a lot of stones, and it's almost like a gorge. Oh, there is a lovely little bridge here, and if we go over here, there's more stones, and it's like a little valley down there with the bridge. And this is called the Alpine Gorge, and there is like a pond down there, a little bit further in, there's a pond down there, but this is pretty much like an alpine gorge with a lovely little bridge. And it says here that Ellen Willmott began planting the alpine gorge when she was just 21. It was constructed by James Backhouse and Son, who transported all the large rocks from Yorkshire. There was a stream running through the bottom which flowed into South Pond. The bridge that spans the gorge was originally built of stone. The landscape in this area is not as Ellen originally planned due to major badger and rabbit earthworks. And in the distance, you may be able to see iron girders. The girders held the thick glass roof of the filmy fern cave, which was built to house exotic translucent ferns from New Zealand and elsewhere.